Selangor, Perak and Negeri Sembilan are home to the most democratic state assemblies in the country, according to a study from CSO Platform for Reform. Meanwhile, Sabah, Terengganu and Perlis fall within the bottom three of the rankings. Tharma Pillai from CSO Platform for Reform speaks on what these findings indicate for the current political landscape.
So I think the key thing that we can say is that many of these governments were either came into power with an agenda for reform, right? That was reflected in terms of the amendments within their state legislative assembly. But also there are certain states where the reforms were done as a premise to create more stability. I think that's very interesting. For example, you look at states such as Perak, where Equal Constituency Development Fund was provided as a premise to ensure greater state stability, right? So I think that's something that's very interesting to note. Whereas states on the bottom, I think it's quite unfortunate that there has not been enough of a push for reforms within these state governments, even though in the context of Sabah, there has been quite frequent changes in government, quite frequent swapping of power between those who are previously government, previously opposition. However, I think this really goes back to what are the governments or what are the people asking from their state legislative assemblies, right? Are they demanding more? Are they demanding more accountability? I think these are the key criteria.
Tharma also discusses the kind of democratic reforms that should be raised in the lead up to the state elections.
I think it's very important that in the context of the upcoming state elections, first and foremost, is there a promise for improvement, right? Is there a promise for democratization, right? And does the public respond positively to that demand? So, for example, one important reform that is very popular in multiple polls is Equal Constituency Development Fund. However, the number of state governments that have actually implemented is only very few, right? In fact, on a federal level, we still don't have Equal Constituency Development Fund. So I think that's something that is very important for not only the politicians to bring in these reforms and put it as part of their manifesto for the upcoming PRN, but also for the public, the rakyat, to be able to engage in this conversation.